to paint your own value scale. A value scale is important because it acts as a guide in how to measure how dark or light the colors are in your painting. That's what value means. You can of course print one out, that's an easy way to do it, but if you don't have a printer and have 5 minutes, you can paint one yourself. Why is this important and why do you care? The reason why value scales are so important is that it helps you understand what you're looking at when you're trying to understand how dark or light a color should be on your painting. I had you paint the value scale in black and white, which is what you will use every single class. You can also make value scales in every color. And this is really helpful practice to do just to familiarize yourself with watercolor and different colors. It's kind of like practicing piano where you practice scales, but this is basically visual scales of color. I did another value scale using phthalo blue. And the goal would be that if you were to turn your screen black and white, these would look identical. You're probably not going to have 50 value scales of every single color that you're using in a painting. Using the black and white one, it helps give you a reference point to decide how light or dark a color should be. It will definitely up your painting game. For instance, if we're looking at this painting here, the highest contrasting points on your painting, whether that's color or value, those will be the most interesting parts of your painting that your viewer will want to look at. This is called chiaroscuro, which means light and dark. And this is the way that you create composition using light and dark values. You see this a lot in Renaissance painting or traditional paintings in general, and how they're able to guide your eye throughout a complicated composition and let you know what they see as the most important part. So this is an important way of communicating to the viewer what you see as the most important piece of this painting. So for instance, in this painting, we have the obvious subject as the moon because it's centered in the composition. It's very dominant, it's on the line of the thirds, but it's also totally white. And nothing else on this painting is pure white. Our whitewash down here is close to white, but it's actually closer to the second color here. That's what makes the moon the #1 subject in this piece. You could also say that the waves and the rocks are a close second because you can see there's a high level of contrast here. You have the #2 color in the water, and then you have this darker gray right here with the water. And then here in the rocks, you have almost a black color with another #2 whitewash here. So that's what gives this painting a really beautiful balance, is you have 3 points of interest. The contrast of the whitewash and the rocks. You have the contrast of this dominant wave in the foreground, and then you have the moon that's centered. On a side note, if you'd like to learn how to paint this painting, check out my tutorial on how to paint a moonrise. So that's just a very simple idea of how to balance contrast and how to create composition and how to have a little bit of control on what to guide your viewer to look at. And it all comes back to having a pretty solid understanding of the value of your color. So yeah, I'll walk you through how to make one. Some of the things you'll need are at least a paintbrush. You'll need a piece of paper that is what you'll use for the value scale. You'll need some tape, a paper towel or something like that, a glass of water, and a hairdryer if you like. The last supply would be having a board or something similar to tape down your paper onto. Then of course we'll need paint. So we'll need your tube of black paint. Where is my tube of black paint? Where did I put it? God. I don't use this a lot, so you can see the paint tube is very weathered. So to get started, we are going to tape down the paper onto the board. Just start with taping down the edges. To get a consistent border, I will line it up so the paper reaches about halfway. going to do little squares. It doesn't matter exactly how many squares you do. In this demonstration, I will make 7 squares. The next thing we're going to do is mix some black paint in our paint palette. We don't need a lot of paint for this. That's probably too much. The first one will be white, so we'll just leave that as it is. So we will get some water here. And now since this is the lightest shade, we will want the tiniest amount of paint possible. So this looks super light, but this is probably the right shade. You're just consistently adding more of a dark color each time. There's not an exact science to this, so if you added the same amount of black every time, it wouldn't give you a perfect gradient. So I would suggest erring on the light side, because you can always make it darker. And then when you get to the darkest square, paint it as dark as you can, and then you might need to go back and adjust some of the colors so that it looks more of an even gradient. Now we're gonna use our hairdryer and dry the paint. Now we're gonna go ahead and take the tape off. And there you have it. This video was helpful. I know it seems kind of simple just to have a scale of black and white and how to paint it. And it is simple, but it's really good practice to do this also with different colors. But the main thing is that it's just a tool and a guide that you will use all the time. And I can't express enough how important it is to have a value scale to help you create realistic paintings. Please comment, like, and subscribe.